to the world of KOSMEK. Thank you very much for today's participation in our webinar about the introduction of the mold cylinder series from KOSMEK. My name is Nikolai Krüller and I will guide you through today's webinar. In the next 20 minutes, you will hear and learn about the company KOSMEK. You will see how the KOSMEK mold cylinder series is unique and how you can benefit with them. And you will experience the benefits of the KOSMEK mold cylinder series based on an application example of the mold cylinder series. Some organizational points up first. You will find this presentation as a downloadable video at www.kosmek.eu, as well as on the YouTube channel from KOSMEK Europe. You can ask us questions directly via the Q&A box or directly from the messenger in Zoom. Depending on how much questions we get, we try to answer them at the end of the session. For any other belonging, please contact us directly at kosmek@kosmek.eu. KOSMEK is the world's leading expert in powered clamping. Due to the limitation from Japanese car manufacturers to 70 bars maximum pressure 40 years ago, KOSMEK developed one of the most innovative technologies for pneumatic and hydraulic work holding solutions like clamping, positioning, and supporting, and also for the factory automation and quick mold and quick die change systems. Since then, KOSMEK has been a continuous market leader in Asia. 8 years ago, the increasing demand on KOSMEK patented low-pressure technology brought the company to Europe. And since then, KOSMEK is the only company in the world covering all areas of a workpiece production process. We offer solutions for casting, injection molding, and for punches and presses. For example, like quick mold change systems, ejector rods for faster changing of the ejector pattern, positioning of the mold or of the die, and the pre-rollers for easier loading and unloading of the molds or dies. In terms of work holding, for example, we have various hydraulic and pneumatic clamps, work supports, and other positioning solutions. In terms of factory automation, we offer like tool changers, pallet changers, and grippers, as well as positioning solutions. And KOSMEK is the only one who can equip the complete process steps from starting of the casting of the product to the finishing line of the product. And today, in this webinar, we are facing the KOSMEK high power core push and core pull cylinder series. What KOSMEK wants to achieve with this product is for you to reduce the cycle time, and in the best case, you can minimize the complete mold design. Additional to that, you are able to eliminate a supporting cylinder if the previous used core cylinder wasn't strong enough to withstand the casting pressures. And maybe you were using two different core cylinders, you also have two different sequences, which leads to a longer cycle time once more. But how is KOSMEK able to achieve this effect with the help of these core cylinders? Let us have first a closer look to the setup of an IMM for now. Let us have a look here at the cut view of a complete equipped injection molding machine. We have the movable plate and the stationary plate, as we all know. As you can see in this picture, that in case of injection molding machines, there are 4 different high power or high speed core push and pull cylinders equipped to the stationary and movable side. But what else is needed? So we need the mold clamps for a stable clamping to the movable plate, as well as on a stationary side. We are using ejector couplers, ejector rods for a fast and easy connection of the ejector plate. And of course, we need a multi-coupler unit to connect for hydraulic or pneumatic pressures. But now we're coming to the mold cylinder series. In most cases, as you can see here, we have the high power core push cylinder to withstand the casting pressure when making the shot. We have our high speed core pull cylinder or core push cylinder for pulling away from the core so that the high power core push cylinder doesn't need to push with all the force which is needed. So in this case, on the stationary plate, we have our high power core push cylinder, which is there to withstand once more here the injector nozzle push, and this pushing against these movable plate inside. So there we can have a stable connection for the shot. And on top of here from the high power pushed cylinder, this high power pushed cylinder is here to withstand the overflowing material which is coming from the shot. So additional to that, we have our flat cylinder, which is there for pressure, pressurization or opening and closing of a vent valve while shooting. So if using a general model of a core cylinder, the oil consumption and the speed will not match the comparable KOSMEK mold cylinder. And speaking about load applied when making the shot, the KOSMEK core push or pull cylinder can withstand up to 170% of the loads which are applied to it, which is a decisive benefit in this machining environment. This means for you as the user that you can minimize your core cylinder size, and since the mold thickness is limited, you do not need to worry about that your cylinder will be too big in size and you will have an interference while opening of the high power core push cylinder. And this means you are able to simplify the mold design due to the elimination of the support cylinder. And since most general core cylinders cannot withstand the casting pressure, it is required to use the support cylinder here. But when using the KOSMEK high power speed or power cylinders, you are able to dismiss the support cylinder and therefore simplify the mold design. So here you can see a complete overview of all of our high power and high speed core pull and push cylinders. Let us start with the first. Let us start with the basic. What we want to make happen with these high power core push cylinders is we want to reduce the cycle times. We want additionally reduce your oil consumption with the help of our KOSMEK high speed and high power mold cylinder series. And we want to reduce the mold dimensions itself when using our products. And for all of these types, as we can see, we have various different sizes and different range of strokes applicable for them. And let's say if it isn't displayed here, you have a special demand on an applicable stroke, or you need much more force, you can just tell us, give us a ring, and we will try or see if it is able to do. And so now we can differ into 5 different push cylinders and pull cylinders. Let us start with the first, which we can see is our high power core push cylinder, the PCE. This type is used mostly in the stationary mold and at the tunnel core. It needs to withstand the casting pressure without the need of an additional support cylinder attached. And with our KOSMEK PCE, you are able to withstand the casting pressure, and that is because of the mechanical lock inside. It is boosting our force, which we have to withstand the casting pressures at up to 170%. Which means for you, you do not need an additional supporting cylinder to withstand the casting pressure. In terms of cylinder capacity, it is a basic one. We do not want it to reduce the cylinder capacity because of speed reasons. We want it here to have the complete force against the casting pressure. Our second type is the high-speed core pull cylinder model. In this case, this is mostly used for the core pulling mechanism, where the cylinder for sliding the core requires a strong force, but when pulling out the core after the casting. But when no great power is required for moving forwards and backwards. And this type is also able to maintain the pulling force with much less cylinder capacity, which we can see here, leads to a cycle time reduction. Additionally, this type only exerts high power when pulling out of the core. Afterwards, it goes down since that not much force is needed anymore. Our third type would be another high-speed core pull cylinder, but the compact model of the PCB. The functions are pretty much the same as we have encountered already at our PCB model, which we can see here, except the cylinder capacity is slightly higher. But for our fourth type, we have our special high-power core pull cylinder with high speed equipped. So this model has the mechanical lock function as well as a lower cylinder capacity attached. Which means for you that this core cylinder is pulling the first 20 millimeters, so the boosted force, with 180% of the force, and after that it goes down to only 20% anymore. It starts with a faster pull movement, which enables you to reduce the cycle times once more. And as the last model, we have our high power core pull cylinder, which is without the high speed, so we do not have any less cylinder capacity, but the same functions as well as our high power core pull cylinder, except the idle force stays at 100%, which means when we are after the boosted force of the mechanism, we can now pull it back in a smooth way. So how are we able to do that? The reason is simple. Due to our special structure, we were able to reduce the oil consumption, which is needed in the core cylinders, to only a half than a regular one. And we were able to increase the speed when not that much force is needed. Still, when using our mold cylinder series, you are able to reduce your cycle times for about 2 to 4 seconds per each shot. And a big die casting company from Italy made a test, and they were able to reduce the cycle times per shot for about 2.5 seconds each in their setup. And now let us have a look at how this can be achieved with the help of the mold cylinder series with the mechanical lock. So here you can see a cut view of one of our push or pull cylinders. As you can see here, we have inside our rod where we have a boosting piston inside the cylinder main body with steel pores. So when supplying pressure to the pull side, the rod is ascended inside of the cylinder, and we do not have the boosting piston or steel pores gripping inside. Now, if we supply pressure to the push side, the rod is going up, and the boosting piston and the steel pores are going with it. And once we have reached the applicable stroke, the steel pores are falling inside of these tapered surfaces here from the cylinder itself, and on the boosting piston we have an additional tapered surface. When we are in a complete locked situation, as we can see here, we generate even higher holding forces in these mold cylinder. So once this is done, the rod is mechanically locked because the steel bars are getting pushed inside of this tapered surface and inside of the boosting piston. In this state, the cylinder is totally locked. The casting pressure is not able to overcome the general force of the cylinder, and due to the high power mechanism inside, we are able to generate even higher forces than comparable general cylinders. And for this reason, I want to show you a quick comparison video of the speed of the mold cylinders and of the forces of the mold cylinders based on the following video. So now let us have a look at this video. Here you can see the setup. We have a high-speed core pull cylinder from KOSMEK with an inner diameter of 80 millimeters. We have a general linear cylinder with also 80 millimeters, and we have a high-power core pull cylinder from KOSMEK with an inner diameter of 63 millimeters. And now I want to show you how to reduce the cycle times because of the different boosting forces and idle strokes. So now let us start. So as you can see, the KOSMEK equivalencies are much faster because at the first stroke we are generating higher pulling forces, and once we overcome these high forces, we can pull it in much faster. And additionally, the pushing side, we also have this function. And if we look at the core pull cylinder comparison from the thrust, we can see that our high-speed core pull cylinder generates 28 kilonewtons with the cylinder inner diameter of 80s, as well as the general linear cylinders. And looking at our high-power core pull cylinder with an inner diameter of 63 millimeters, we're generating even more forces, but with a smaller dimension, which means for you, you can downsize your cylinder sizes, which also could enable you to reduce the complete mold size. And for that reason, the mold cylinder series of KOSMEK might be beneficial for your company. Now, I want to show you which benefits you can achieve with the mold cylinder series from KOSMEK. Now let us sum up the benefits which KOSMEK high power and high speed core cylinders can give you. First is you are able to avoid any interference inside of the mold due to high power function, which results that you as the user can choose a smaller dimension than the previous models in use. The second is for you to reduce the cycle time, since a large general cylinder is needed to withstand the casting pressure and therefore the operating speed gets slower. But in case of our compact cylinder with small cylinder capacity and with the additional holding force, you are able to increase your operating speed significantly. The third benefit is to simplify the mold control, since you do not need an additional support cylinder, and therefore you can reduce the operating speed since there is no second sequence needed anymore. And the fourth benefit is to simplify the core control, since you only need one operation and you do not need any support cylinder. And now to show you these benefits, I want to check with you the following application example. So now please have a look at these examples regarding the KOSMEK high-speed core pull and a general cylinder in terms of coring. So we have the same conditions, a cylinder inner diameters of 50 millimeters with an actual stroke of 185 millimeters at a hydraulic pressure of 150 bars or 15 megapascal and a machine capacity of 850 tons. So now let us start with the sequence. We'll start by pushing in the core and now getting into position for the start of the shot. So let us start the molding process. As you can see, it is pretty the same speed, except a few seconds, which we can reduce by pulling off the core of the complete setup, of the complete cycle time reduction, about 3 seconds. So before we had a cycle time of 27 seconds. And now, after we changed to our high-speed core pull cylinders, we can reduce the cycle time for about 3 seconds or 11% per shot. And what that could mean for you, I want to show you the following example. So here you can see how, based on an application example from a company in Japan, they reduced their setup time for about an hour at about 13 pieces. So let's sum this up. We are operating these machines for about a day. Since we are able to reduce the setup time for about 2 to 3 or 4 seconds max, we are able to generate in 1 hour 13 pieces more than general. But for a day, we are able to increase the numbers up to 260 pieces more than with the general core pull cylinders. And sum up over a month, 6,500 pieces. And for a year, we can generate over 78,000 pieces more than with the general type. So assuming one workpiece is worth $5, in 1 year of operating, we could generate even nearly $400,000 more in sales, and about 78,000 more workpieces is possible in 1 year of production. And if we are comparing the production time for the same pieces, we're able to reduce up to 1.4 months, that we are achieving the same production time for 588,000 pieces, which the general cylinder would need a year. So we contributing to lead time reduction and a work style reform with the help of our high power and high speed core push and pull cylinder series. It was a pleasure for me to host this webinar, and thank you very much for all of your time and participation to this webinar.